Mental health champions, happy Friday as we're recording, and I'm bringing on someone who just launched a new mental health show. She has a mental health practice, her own mental health journey to share. So, Lindsay Frey, welcome to A Mental Health Break.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me, Vincent.
Of course, I'm really excited to dive into this one, everyone. I met Lindsay on LinkedIn, right? Cold
Yes, I did.
networking, and we met, heard her story. She's got a very powerful journey and a lot of ambition that will be contagious to you. She's planning these retreats around the world to grow her practice, her brand, and everything in between. But first, let me welcome everyone to A Mental Health Break. Thank you for keeping this show a top 5% global podcast and tuning in each and every Sunday. My name is Vincent A. Lindsay, and I'm excited to bring on a new guest. And before we dive in, a quick shout out to our show partner, John Ford, and his Empathy card set, his Empathy app in the App Store. Head to empathyset.com to check out all he has, and of course, johnford.com. But Lindsay, it's back to you. Please share your mental health journey from wherever you feel comfortable and lead it into, of course, how you got this awesome practice off the ground.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, this has been a passion of mine for a really long time. And I think, like a lot of people, their mental health journeys start in childhood. But I was raised by really great parents and I grew up in a really good family. However, when I was in my teenage years, I experienced some pretty profound grief and loss. I lost 4 friends who passed away between the ages of 13 and 16 years old for me. And it was pretty significant, and mental health wasn't what it is now back in the 90s. And so this was the late 90s when I lost my first friend. And so I really struggled with depression and bereavement without actually having words for what those two things were. And so I found psychology through a textbook in my junior year of high school. And I really fell in love with it and kind of helped myself heal throughout that process. And then decided to be somebody that would sit across from teenagers and help them through their journeys and also help their parents understand and connect with them a little bit better and improve communication and things like that. And so that's really where my journey started was, I'd say 16, 17 years old. I found psychology. I wrote down the goals that I had for my life, which was to become a doctor in psychology and to travel the world. And I do actually have a sheet of paper that has those goals on them still. And then I became a doctor at 30 years old. And now I've been in the field for over 10 years. I have a group practice in Lutz, Florida, and we get to help tons of children, adolescents, and families find hope and healing through therapy and evaluation support. So that's where I'm at.
Keep rocking and rolling. As I always tell you, inspire me each time we talk. And I want to touch on grief advice for maybe kids, girls or boys that age, now that you've gone through that. But I do want to not brush past writing down your goals, everyone actualizing them. Mine are written everywhere, my 3-month calendar, my Post-it notes here. You have to have them everywhere because it will keep you in that mode to keep chasing things that you're passionate about. But I didn't want to, of course, breeze past that either. You went through this horrific experience as a young person. No one should do that. How can you help someone who may be listening on today or a parent of someone who was a child in the same situation?
Yes, I think when you're a child going through grief and loss, and I've sat across from kids now that have lost parents or suddenly lost friends or family members or even pets, and it was really sudden and really hard for them. I think sometimes as adults, we go through so much grief that we sometimes forget what it was like the first time we experienced that. And so to let somebody know that they're not alone, just help them to just hear what they're going through, hear what their heart is saying, hear what their feelings are, and just partner with them to see what they need moving forward. Something that was really helpful to me was writing those goals because I did struggle with depression and feeling very stuck. And so whenever I got my brain moving forward, it kind of helped me to move forward in a way. It helped me to continue to look ahead. So, and research shows that if you write down your goals, you are much more likely to achieve them. And I feel like I'm evidence of that.
I agree with that. I see all the great things you're accomplishing, and everything I do, again, is writing down. I time block before bed. I have my whiteboards and my hours, everything, and I actually get those things done. Where I found, at least for me, I'm not going to generalize and say everyone. If I say, oh, I'll do it later, there's a chance that something else may come up that's prioritized higher, and I never get that thing done. And that's happened to me over and over and over again until I actually made the change remember, everyone, nothing changes if we don't take the first step to turn these challenges into some positives in our life. So I'm very glad you shared that. But now I want to ask for some advice. You briefly touched on, you have this awesome practice you got started. I know you're really excited about it because you're supplementing it with the retreats and the podcast to grow your brand. What was the hardest part of opening a mental health practice for you?
I think the hardest part was not knowing what you don't know. And so I have a lot of entrepreneur friends, and I sat down with a lot of them. I mean, people that were in completely different fields than me, people that were in huge hiring companies in Tampa. I have a friend that's a dentist that owns multiple practices. I've had prior supervisors and bosses that own their own mental health practice. And so I sat down with as many people as I could to pick their brain and ask questions about the process. And I also have a fantastic accountant that really walked me through different ways that we could go about it. But the hardest thing everybody said over and over was there's so many things that you're going to run into that you can't prepare for. So you just have to learn to be flexible and adaptable and pivot as much as you can as you're moving through it, and keep your goal in mind. Do you want to have a thriving, successful practice? It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take a lot of time and a lot of hard work. And so just be ready for the grind, And so I'm 2 years in now, and I can say there were a lot of things I couldn't have anticipated. That's absolutely true. But when those came up, that resonated with me. I went back to the beginning and went, oh yeah, this is one of those things. It's okay to not have known everything, and you just keep moving forward.
And we'll never know everything. That's the beauty of life. You can
Right.
always be learning, unless you just want to stop and give up, which we should never do. Find something new you're passionate about. But while we're on the topic of your practice, which areas do you specialize in, ages, just in case there's someone who is tuning in, feels aligned, they'll find out your information right at the end of the show.
Right, absolutely. So we work with kiddos as young as, I would say, 3, 4. We have somebody that specializes in play therapy, and then we go all the way up into older adults. So we have therapists that work with individuals, we have therapists that work with couples, and therapists that work with families. And so I would say some of our most common challenges that we see are ADHD, autism, relational challenges, communication, self-esteem, a lot of school-based stress. And I do a lot of parenting training as well to help coach parents and to how to help their kids best as well, and navigate this world that we're living in, and boundaries, and with technology and all those kind of things. And so we do both therapy support and evaluations for diagnostic purposes and several different other reasons, but we help both.
I love it. Well, now you've given me the opportunity to give more advice to our great audience. If there's a parent out there and their child has ADHD and they want to maybe learn something than the traditional medicinal diagnosis, what is something you can offer? Because I know you're very big in holistic options for not just kids, but also us adults.
Oh, absolutely. I think it's so important to look at holistic options and almost first. And so I talk to everybody about their physical health, their emotional health, their spiritual wellness, their social health. And so I do this with parents as well. So if they do have a newly diagnosed child, which I do diagnose for ADHD through my evaluations as well, we talk about their sleep. One of the most important things is sleep. So if they have poor sleep, they're going to have even worse concentration the next day. So really making sure they prioritize sleep, making sure they prioritize their kiddos' nutrition. So low sugar, really healthy foods in their body, natural sugars from like fruits and things like that, and activity. So some of these things are really, really important, making sure they're getting a lot of activity. Being outside in nature is shown to be really relaxing for our brains and for our bodies. And something I learned from one of the therapists I'm talking to in Italy on the podcast, she talked about being involved in eco-psychology and how important it is to get outside and how good it is for our brains and our bodies, and how children in particular are the most nature deprived in this generation than they've ever been before. And so how important it is for us to also connect kiddos with nature. So those are some of the things I start with when I'm talking with parents. And then for therapy support, we talk about impulse and impulse control strategies and ways I can help them at home and school.
I love it. Well, and the show notes here from when Dee gets them all ready. Problems with kids being deprived in nature. I think that's something that's overlooked because of the technology ease. Like, hey, we're all busy, give the kid the iPad. And I'm not saying that's a right or wrong way to parenting in any means. I'm not a parent. I'm saying when I was a kid, I remember, we don't keep in touch anymore, but my neighbors and I, we were playing wiffle ball or tag or manhunt, I think it's called, when it gets dark outside.
Yes.
Right? All these things, just being outside. riding our bikes to the pizzeria with my friends, or our scooters, or walking it even. So even when I drive, I don't see kids riding bikes. I don't see kids really at all, but it could just be where I live. So I'm not going to generalize, but everyone, please, if you're listening on, prioritize ways for you to stay mentally healthy. And that can be nature as well. I'm intentional with my walks right outside my window here where I record. I just have a long sidewalk. It takes me 5 minutes to get up, go walk in the sun, get back in. Sunlight just always gives me a little more energy before resorting to caffeine. But we've touched on so much in such a little time. You did just tease something there, the podcast. What's the title? What's it about? Tell us everything.
Yes, it is Mental Health Without Borders, the Global Wellness Podcast. And it officially launches next Thursday. However, we just put out a teaser so people can go now to download, like, subscribe, and follow the podcast wherever you find your podcast. So I'm very excited about it because it incorporates several of my loves. I love traveling. I love exploring new cultures. I love meeting people from different cultures. I care about, obviously, mental health and then overall wellness. And so this podcast brings together all of those things that I'm really passionate about in one.
Well, I can't wait to see the podcast continue to come out. I know you already have so many recorded for therapists literally all around the world. It's going to be a worldwide podcast. What has been maybe a preview you can give here from an interview that you're going to air later, just something that stood out from you? I know something definitely stood out in every interview, but something that just now at the top of your head, like, I still remember her or him saying that.
Yes, it's really hard to pick because I am learning something from every single therapist I talk to. Every single one I've learned something from. Just for example, Miss Canada, I interviewed her as a therapist from Canada, but she's Miss Universe Canada 2025. And something that she's doing is she's highlighting the importance of mental health on a global platform as well. And so she actually entered in order to create a larger platform. That's why she did it. And she's in her 40s and she's stunningly beautiful. And she wants to also talk about how important it is that we acknowledge that as well. And that you can be 40 years old and beautiful in a beauty contest, around the world, while also coaching. She does executive coaching, and she does all these other incredible things. Like, I don't want to give it all away, but she was fascinating with all the projects that she's doing. I really resonated with her story and her approach. And I would say, Italy, I was just talking to the therapist from Italy. Her name is Camilla Gamba. And she specializes in ecotherapy and does walk and talk therapy, and says how she can sit in an office with somebody, and when she encourages them to do the walk and talk therapy, she sees a lot more openness when they're walking and talking in nature. She sees them just physically relax as they're talking, and then she's able to really demonstrate to them the importance of it as she's doing that with them in their daily life. So lots and lots of insights, lots of things that I've learned. I'm really excited to share it with everybody.
Well, I asked you that because I wanted everyone to hear the value that's coming their way once they do tune into Mental Health Without Borders. Again, if you're live streaming right now, this is what she's talking about with the dates. So I've got the website right here, or you can put /podcast to go ahead and go directly to the page. It is streaming on all podcast platforms. So remember to subscribe to her show, rate it, all that good stuff, just like you did for me. And I'm thankful for that. As I want to touch on for podcasting, and this doesn't have to be done, by coming alive, but podcast is the best form of a business card you never knew you needed. She just shared this beautiful story with this woman in Canada, and they have the same exact mission. Now they're aligned, where it starts with a mutual collaboration on a podcast, but it could eventually lead into a retreat in Canada. You know what she's doing, right? All of these things are just opening doors, and I'm very grateful for this global audience that entrepreneur show and the mental health break have taken on, where they're not really Tampa shows just anymore. While the majority is from that area, the rest is scattered all around the world. So I'm really excited to see her show continue to evolve, because I'm going to remind you right here at the end again to subscribe to her show. But I always ask something, Lindsay, if you can give one piece of advice to any mental health advocate out there who's having a tough go right now, someone who's struggling, not just grief related, and I'm glad that we touched on that. I hope that helps someone viewing or listening on today, but just overall, what can you offer?
Absolutely. I think that something that's really important is to know that you're not alone. And so there are so many people out there, but we have to learn how to reach out and ask for help. And so there are professionals that genuinely want to be able to help you and find it a privilege to be a part of your life. So remember that. Reach out to somebody that's close to you that maybe you wouldn't even expect. Just talk to people about what you're going through. I think when we have support, we have accountability for that support and we get help and we allow people to help us. And then kind of that final thing is incorporating the pillars of wellness into your daily life. So recognizing that sometimes something is just off that we could fix before even seeing a professional. So just get outside and take a walk, see how amazing nature is around you and how alive it is. Make sure you're getting good sleep. Make sure you're reducing the impact of social media and news and some of the incoming information. And instead, maybe go read about something new, read about something that inspires you. Plan a weekend trip. I love, love, love traveling, like I said, and it just kind of takes me out of my day-to-day space and sometimes helps me to get perspective again into what really matters. So I would say taking care of your overall wellness, and then making sure you reach out for support. And if you don't have that support near you, then there are professionals that are so excited and waiting to talk with you and would be happy to be a part of your journey.
Taking breaks is so important. And for me, I hit burnout real young in my entrepreneurial journey. I also started entrepreneurship a lot younger than the typical business owner. You have to take intentional breaks. Even on my time block, I have breaks built into my day. I now, no questions asked, 1 day a week, my laptop doesn't open because as an entrepreneur, we could always be working, but it's important for me to just use my old whiteboard and just write everything down. And then I'll just hit it come Sunday or Monday morning. I always love the early morning times because there's no distractions, there's no calls, there's no anything, and I just get it done. And I don't encourage working on weekends if that's your day off, but again, no distractions. It's a great time to catch up, and it reduces my stress, my anxiety as a business owner, where others may enjoy Tuesday as their day off or Wednesday as their day off. But please make sure we do not get too busy to remember to enjoy our life. And she's a great example for that as she travels the world. But other than traveling, which I guess is holistic, right? And therapy, I know you're an advocate for that because of your practice. And we just talked about taking walks in nature. Are there any other holistic or non-medicinal tips that you can give? And again, I'm not bashing any medicine, but I have, as I got older, tried to do more things without relying on something.
Yeah, I find that that's so important to have in your toolbox natural remedies that can help you. And so something I just started doing a couple years ago was diving more into meditation. So I went to a yoga and meditation kind of health retreat in Massachusetts 2 years ago, and it was really transformative for me. Now I'm utilizing it even in session with children, adolescents. I have some adolescent autistic kiddos that find they've never really felt relaxed before until they did this. And so there is an app called Calm. There's another one called Headspace. Some of these apps are really helpful to guide you through the process if you don't know how to do it yourself. So I have a 10-minute stress and anxiety mindfulness kind of go-to whenever I need it, where I might have 3 sessions in the morning and I just kind of want to reset. So I will literally lay on the couch here in the therapy office, take 10 minutes, put that meditation on, and I feel completely reset in 10 minutes. It might take me 5 to just get into it. And then the rest of the time there, my brain and my body is finally able to relax. So that's something that people can do. And if you're not familiar, find an app that can help you because there are so many different tools out there nowadays to be able to help guide us.
Those micro breaks are so important. Even just closing your eyes for 5 minutes and meditate like that, it is a game changer, especially if you need to keep going and going and going. Do you see your retreats giving you more than one location, or what's the order of these goals? I know, because I don't want to breeze past these retreats. We teased it a few times. Do you have the first one booked, or are we going to keep everybody waiting?
Well, we have a lot of announcements coming up. So we have actually a small pilot one that we're running in June that I'm excited about, and we will be covering the 5 pillars of wellness. And so my passion for these retreats are helping the helper. And so you talked about stress and burnout, and with helping professions and helping professionals, a lot of people do have a high risk of burnout because they don't take care of themselves enough and they pour themselves into other people and their stories, which we love, but we do have to put the oxygen mask on first. And so my goal for the retreats are to replenish, renew, refresh, helping professionals who can come, take a step away, have an amazing trip and journey, and experience something new, experience some rest and quiet time. And we will cover the 5 pillars of wellness for them and see which ones are maybe not going too well, but then which ones can we improve between physical, emotional, social, spiritual, and intellectual. And so we are looking at Greece. I just got back from Greece in February. I had a phenomenal trip and I found a couple incredible locations. And I'm saying like one of the most beautiful locations I've ever been to in my life. I got to stay in a compound of like 8 bedrooms. It's gorgeous. So quiet, so peaceful. So we are putting those together right now. I'm hoping to launch later this year or spring of 2026, but there'll be information on findinghopewellnesscenter.com as the retreats gain more traction and as we kind of put the entire program together. But we have a pilot one. We're going to run through materials this summer and then hoping to launch fall of 2025 or spring 2026. More to come. But initially Greece. Yes, that will be our first international location.
Well, I love it. Well, thank you for sharing your website right there, everyone. If you are checking us out on live stream or after it's recorded on the LinkedIn page, YouTube, or Facebook, her website's right there. But I want to thank you so much, Lindsay, for coming on the show. Absolutely crushed it. Where can we find you other than this website? Is there anywhere else online?
Yes. So I'm on LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram. You can find me. Dr. Lindsay Frey is usually the handle for where I'm at. And I'm constantly posting updates about the podcast, about Finding Hope Wellness Center, and about the retreats as well. I also just like to put a lot of encouraging posts out there, hopeful posts to anyone that might be having a hard day or a hard week or hard time in their life. So try to be positive and encouraging as well. So if you need some encouragement, head to one of my social media sites and hopefully you'll find some there.
Thank you for sharing that, everyone. Be sure to go check out all she has to offer. And again, her new podcast, Mental Health Without Borders. Go ahead and subscribe. It's on the website, but you can go ahead and scroll in the App Store now, or the podcast store, now. My name is Vincent A. Lancy, and this is a mental health break. Please remember to subscribe for the next show with the next mental health champion. And for this week, we are both signing off right here in the Tampa area. Lindsay, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.